Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Smorgasbord Podcast, where we talk about a variety of things, uncensored, unedited, and unfiltered. Today, we have a guest, my good friend Aaron. Aaron, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Quarantine, but all right.
Oh, I feel you on that one. How you been handling it? What you been up to since it's been?
Well, just gotta stay around at home. I've been going out sometimes just for random things, just get some exercise. But other than that, it's just been social distancing like everybody else. Not much special.
Dude, people are panicking too much because my mom tried to order groceries, and we won't get them till Saturday and Monday because people are panicking too much.
That's crazy. Yeah, I was at Publix about a week ago, and there were problems. The cashier was telling us that there were problems because they were running out of water, and it was one of the few days they actually had water in stock. And she was saying how stupid it was that everybody was just panic buying everything, like water. And she was complaining.
Like the giant jugs or water bottles?
Like water bottles.
They just took all of them?
Packs of water bottles. And people are panicking because it's almost like they think that they're gonna lose their utility services or something.
Right, I'm like, you literally have a faucet. I don't understand. And the thing is, I went to Kroger. There's still water there, so if you want to go get water, go to Kroger because they still have a bunch of stuff there.
Well, because the people who shop at Kroger, I mean, they panic buy, but they also they don't panic buy water. They just panic buy stupid stuff.
Yeah, no, they clear off dish soap. Why? Like there's no bottles of Dawn at Kroger right now. I'm like, why? What do you need that for?
In defense, dish soap is one of the smarter things that you might need because thinking about it, you can't go out to eat anymore. You're kind of focused on eating only at your house, and if you're gonna have a lot of dishes to do, or at least more than normal, so I feel like dish soap for washing or dishwashers might be a little bit of smarter, but you still don't need to go buy.
No, I get buying it, but buying 15 things when this is probably gonna something just came up in the news, literally a notification before we started. Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, the two basketball players from the Utah Jazz, they're cured of it. They're clean.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know what. The thing is they think it's a death sentence, and I'm like, 80. And they literally said 80% of people who get it don't even have to go to the hospital. They're just quarantined and they get the treatment.
And then out of everybody who even does get it, it's a 97% survival rate. It's still
it's something to be worried about, but it's nothing to be okay, the world is gonna end now. So
if you're a person, there's a very good chance you'll live, and you might even have no symptoms. If you're a healthy adult, you'll probably be fine. You won't even know you had it.
Yeah, I talked about that last time I recorded. I don't know, you probably didn't see it. I was just saying I think it's what it's doing. It's weeding out the weaker part. It's weeding out because we got too many people. So they're it's slowly killing off too many of sick people and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I think is happening, but I don't know.
That's the problem why. In fairness, I do agree with the social distancing thing because, like what I said a second ago, the problem is lots of people don't even show symptoms, and that's the deal. Because even if you don't show symptoms, you can still spread it to someone who probably will show symptoms. So that's another part of that social distancing thing that I think it's really good that we've been doing that. But then again, the panic buying, it's just completely stupid. That's not gonna save you or anybody else.
Yeah, and also on top of that, if you're if this is a pandemic and people say it's no longer if, it's a matter of when, then why are you panicking if you're gonna get it anyways? You would still prevent as much as you can to not get it, but if you get it, if everybody's gonna get it, then why does that matter?
Yeah, that's what kind of confuses me too. I'm just wondering how buying 10 packs of hand sanitizer and hundreds of rolls of toilet paper is going to make you less susceptible. I mean, sure, it's stuff you might need, but it's not going anywhere.
It isn't. I don't know why they think that because of the
So, like,
coronavirus, like they're gonna not have toilets. They're gonna have to shoot shit out their organs or something.
it's almost like people believe that like it's gonna come out in whatever in a month. Everybody who has died or has it's gonna turn into a zombie. Like, no,
Yeah.
that's not.
That's literally because they watch too much TV and they're like, all right, we buy every bag of rice, everything of toilet paper, everything that is in cans, buy it. Like all the stores, they're like preventing people from buying. They're only people that are like they're like letting like kind of shop normally, or people who are like high risk. So like if you like my aunt has she has cancer. If we were to go to the store with her, she's high risk because she's more susceptible. She'd be able to go in before anybody else.
And that's another thing about high risk. That's something that I've been doing recently, and my family's been doing is like for my grandparents and people like that. We're staying away from them. Like we're doing no contact with anybody who may have like a weaker immune system.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. People who this virus is killing. It's the people who have like Crohn's, HIV, AIDS, and seniors and young kids. It's people who don't have fully developed immune systems or overdeveloped immune systems. So the problem, and those aren't even the people who are buying stuff. Like you don't see right now in like Kroger, like 65 buying like tons of hand sanitizer.
It isn't. It's literally like middle-aged people in the prime of their life. Like
it's millennials and like Gen Xers. That's the people who are doing it. And it gets on my nerves whenever I go around and see people with 40, like,
yeah. Man, I remember like right before like they started like making like that whole social distance thing before they announced it. We went to go buy groceries because the minute we were like, okay, it's getting kind of serious. Dude, we saw this like middle-aged woman, and it's where you can go pull into Walmart, and they bring out the groceries to you. She had like 5 whole like crates to go to her car, and I'm like, she doesn't even, unless she's raising an orphanage or a zoo, there is no reason she would be having all of that because that probably can't even fit in her trunk of her car.
And I've been seeing people on the internet lately saying that the people who are panic buying, first of all, they're not the people who need the stuff, and then they're taking the stuff from the people who do need it. Like, where are the hospitals going to get supplies from if you're buying all of it? Because hospitals actually get a portion of their supplies from, like, supermarkets. And they get shipments from supermarkets. Like, part of all of the stuff that goes on shelves, there's that part, and then there's, like, another, like, I don't know, 15%, 10% portion of all of their inventory goes, like, to hospitals. And that's the problem, is if everybody's buying stuff, there's nothing for the people who actually need help.
It's ridiculous. I found out took it serious when they shut down everything. Like not like the stores and all that stuff, because they're gonna do that anyways because they're unsanitary. But when they started shutting down like the sports stuff, like
well, I think that was the wake up call for everybody because
yeah.
I was kind of just sitting there like, okay, yeah, it's fine if we don't have, it's fine. Like people may have it, but it's fine. Everything's still humming along as usual. But I think since so many people watch sports and so many people rely on that for entertainment, at least nowadays with the NBA and the NHL going on, which there's games pretty much nightly all the time, you lose all of that at once in one day. It's like it's like another world, because when you think about it, you've never, at least you and me in our lives, have never really experienced a time when there's been no sports doll, when there's been nothing, no any sort of like televised event, and it's different. It's definitely a change, and a lot of people didn't know how to react to that, and that's probably what panicked them, because now I think they almost saw it as the beginning of the end, and that's probably why people panic buy.
That's really what it is. It's just more. The real disease really isn't even the coronavirus. The main thing, and I said it again before, and I'll say it again. The main disease is fear, because it's new. If it like the fact that at the very beginning it was like you can die more of the flu than that, but the people did never heard of coronavirus before, even though it's been around for a while, just not the specific strain that is dropping people like flies. They're now panicking because it's new and they don't know what to do with it. And I think one or two things are happening again. Like they're either not telling us enough of what's going on with it, or they're over exaggerating, which I think is the main thing because it's the media. Because they say all the messed up stuff, like okay, 900 people died here, 900 people died here, but then like real quick they'll sweep under the rug. 80% of people survive it. Like 80% of people who get it don't have to go to the hospital, and they slide that under the rug.
Mm-hmm. And what you said earlier about like, is the media overcovering it, or are they hiding something? I thought I heard you mention this yesterday on the podcast, but you said the media was hiding something, and I honestly don't know where to stand on this because back in mid-February, I think February 7th, let's see, Senator Richard Burr from West Virginia, I want to say, he was told, because he's the chair of the something disease, something whatever, and he got news from, I want to say it was the WHO or the CDC or something, that this was a new disease and it would probably get worse. And instead of warning the public about it, he decided that he would get like a lot of high-ranking people, and they would all took out their stock in things they had. And people, I was in a discussion when I was heard about this. I was with a bunch of other high schoolers, and we were talking, and they were saying, well, this was like a bad thing. This was a very selfish thing to do, and they should have, told everybody. But then I spoke up and I said, well, if he tells everybody that this is going to get worse,
panic.
Then and he tells them like, oh, the stock market's going to go down and everything, people are going to take out their stock, and then everybody taking out their stock at the same time is exactly what caused the stock market crash in the first place.
That's why Trump didn't close the border. They didn't like he had an option. They were telling him, I don't know what organization, they were telling him to close the entire like border, or like in regards to like don't let the flights from China come in. And he said, I don't want the stock market to crash, so I'm gonna keep it open. And people got mad at him, and I'm like, it's either that and we like lose money, or we're in the situation now. Because either way, he wasn't put in a bad situation anyways for that to make a decision. Because the media would have been like, oh, he's racist, and I'm like, no, it's a pandemic.
No, and that leads to my second point. So let's say this Richard Burr character, let's say he does tell the public, oh yeah, he makes an announcement. He goes, oh yeah, this will probably get bad, and we're going to get to a point where there will be limited resources, and there will be it'll be much more of a lockdown to control this. That would just get people nervous, and then they would do exactly what they're doing now. So it's basically, would you rather have this whole thing start soon, or right earlier, maybe like in beginning of March, late February, or would you want all of this to happen like it is now? And then everybody, because then that's the problem, is by the time, because remember back in January, I was watching CNN 10s in health class every morning for warm-ups, and they were covering like this new virus that was in Wuhan, China, from like a fish market, and everybody was like, oh yeah. And I distinctly remember them using a quote from a scientist who said, yeah, it probably won't become anything, it'll probably just stay, they're already taking steps. And then it grew and it grew, and then it spread to other countries, and then it started spreading, and then by that time, once they realized how communicable it was, and how dangerous it really was, or at least how communicable, it was already too late. And now everybody has it, and people have already been spreading it around because I think people don't want to change their lifestyle, because I feel like you said earlier, fear. If people change their lifestyle, that will make them even more nervous, because then they're way more self-conscious of like, I have to be doing different stuff because something going around. And I think that ties back to fear, because people don't want to have to do that because it just makes them more nervous.
Definitely, and also on account of the fact that a lot of people that like the older they are, the more stuck in their ways they are. and they're gonna be so blind. And again, it comes back to like being like we're naturally selfish. That's naturally a thing as creatures, and I feel like no one's gonna like and I'll say again. I said all this in the past one. No one's gonna care until it hits them. So they'll start caring when it's either too late or it's like too close for comfort. Like and even like as individuals, because even as a country, America was like, okay, that's in China, and then now it's here, and now people care.
And going off that, maybe we can shift gears a little bit. So I have a group of people I play on PlayStation with, and there's one character who I'll just call him, I don't know, whatever his name is. So this started back in November. After it was my first time playing with him, I met him through Andrew.
Yeah.
And so he finds out that I'm Jewish. And then he starts making so many, every single time
I
play
you told me about
with anti-Semitic, like Holocaust jokes, like gas chamber, whatever that. So fast forward to about 1 month ago, and we're at a party. I recently found out that this person's parents were actually gay. And I was like, okay, well now he better not get mad if I make a comment about this. And wouldn't you know it, so like he comes in, he starts making normal anti-Semitic jokes, and I say, well, I forgot exactly what I said, but I made some sort of insult about like his parents being gay, and in retaliation, and then he stopped. Like he got so mad over it and Andrew sided with me over this because he had seen like how long it had gone, and then all of a sudden he was getting really pissed over one joke. And that was another thing, like, people don't care until it happens back to them, like what you said earlier. People don't care until it's them who are on the back end of it. And I haven't talked to him since, and he was just so pissed. Like, he was like, how could you ever say that? That's, like, way over the line.
Yeah, I don't get it. Because literally, like, as you know, back in 3rd grade, Josh did the same thing. Like, he was calling me the N-word, and he hit me. And I hit him back, and he wanted to go tell Miss August saying that I hit him first. I'm like, fam, you didn't, though. You didn't. And I guess it's so dumb.
I want to say that incident really did scare him straight, because once the counselors were involved, he has never been the same since. And I can say this. He was always more of, like, offensive than he was, and he was regular, like, whatever, elementary school offensive, but he's never really been talked like that since. And I know that he's been very suppressed.
Yes.
With the stuff he says now. And I think that definitely scared him straight. Like, once everybody got involved, because I know one of his number one fears is definitely getting in trouble, because I've seen it over and over again.
He could have been suspended for that. That's like, for real. And the funny thing was, like, I think to this day he's actually scared of me, because, like, after that whole situation where he was being racist, he then tried to, like, get under my skin and was still, like, being like he wasn't saying openly racist stuff, but he was just being like a douchebag, basically, like under radar, so the teachers couldn't catch it, but he knows that I see him and I see what he's doing. And I ended up, I don't know what I did, but I said something to him, and it scared him. I could see in his eyes, and he hasn't said anything to me ever since. Like, it's like like he doesn't know me. He hasn't talked to me or even looked in my direction, because we had a 8th grade science together. Never said a word to me.
Yep. That's what happens to people. Once people get into, like, that's why that show Beyond Scared Straight is pretty effective, is because people do, like you said, fear. People do get controlled by fear. So what they see, they definitely, will be less likely to ever mess with that person again. And so I think the main problem is that some people, they're like, I don't remember if you were in Miss Perry's class in 6th grade.
Oh my God.
She gave us a long discussion about crime and punishment, and she went into a long story.
Yeah, about her dad. Yeah. I don't like.
classified as a sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
And the number one thing is whenever he would do something, and this is what separates a sociopath from a psychopath, is sociopaths, they don't have the ability to feel remorse or regret for an action. So they will do something, and it may be completely wrong, but they will never see that as a wrong thing to do. And I think that's another thing that ties back into this is most people do have an ability to see that, and I think the main people who are the problems with like racism are like sociopaths. You could think about it. Almost all KKK, they probably weren't even sociopaths because back then that was the norm. Like
they don't know what they're doing.
They don't, and that's the thing. You don't know what to do. And I think you mentioned this on the last podcast. Is if there was only bad or only one type of thing, you'll never know that it was wrong. You'll never know that was the wrong thing to do because it isn't yet. Up until the time when the civil rights movement started to gain some like footing, people never knew, like didn't ever think of racism as a wrong thing to do. It was always just the thing to do.
Yeah.
But once they went to the second side, then everybody started thinking, okay, well, this is starting to look, worse and worse.
Yeah, and the main thing about it, like, that's also ignorance. Is what like you go back to every single like, if I'm always taught, like for example, if I always taught that Jewish people, like in today's current era, they're always lesser than people. If I was always taught that, drilled, never learned how to think for myself and ask questions, I'm gonna look at every Jewish person and be like, I am better than you. You are beneath. You are like subhuman, like how they thought black people were back then. You are subhuman, and how they look back in like 1939 to 1945 and all that whole Nazi era, they are subhuman. But the fact that you, if you never had anything good, you would never know what you would just exist. So when I say that, like, we need all the negative stuff, because that also brings all the positive, and it kind of balances itself out. And no, that's not a shameless plug, but
that's just the way it works. You can't have negative without positive, and you can't have positive without negative. And I think that's the number one thing people forget about nowadays, especially people who are very discriminatory, is they always, whenever they discriminate against, especially anti-Semitists now, and all of like these places, and not even just anti-Semitists, like any like white supremacist who like shoots up a church or shoots up a mosque or shoots up like a synagogue, they don't think what they're doing is wrong. No, actually that's the problem. They do know what they're doing is wrong. Because afterwards, a lot of times when you see like school shooters, a lot of times they kill themselves after because they know it's wrong and they know that they're going to get backlash on it, but they do it anyway just because. I don't even know why. It boggles me that someone could do something that's horrible and know it was wrong, but do it anyway.
Well, I feel like it's many different things. It's like it depends. It gets what I'm saying. Like, there are many situations that are similar, but none ever the same. And that's something I believe. There are situations that are completely similar, but are never ever the same. So like we had every school shooting ever in America. It's the typical thing. He's bullied. He did this. No one was helping him. But it's always like the little, when you get down to the nitty gritty details, it's like, oh, he was molested at home. Oh, he was cutting himself and he was asking for help and no one wanted to help him. Thus came to the big conclusion. And it's very interesting because like you can tell those type of people by their, like I said it last time, you can tell by looking in their eyes and when you speak to them, you can tell who is really like on the edge of snapping or like kind of breaking off, and people who are like kind of mentally healthy because you people fake it every day.
And I would believe like all of the people who are doing this kind of stuff are like young teens, like high schoolers who are doing it, and that's got to say something about just the school system and the people who are going to like high school and other schools. They're horrible. Like the problem with modern day school system is it's so I'm trying to think. It's very. I almost want to use the word communist because like a lot of
it is communist because it's communist and illusions.
The problem is it's so much of a stand. There's so much of a standard when you're at like school nowadays. It's so much image, and that's all people can think of. And once like people make fun of them, and then the bullying comes in, people hate having a different image than others, and that's what probably drives them over the edge. Like, if I can't be like everybody else, why just live at all? And why should they live at all if they can't accept
It's hard, dude. It's I'll tell you what. It's hard to be like in a day and age where everybody it's so easy to be the same. It's hard to be unique and stay unique. That's the difference. You can be yourself because at some point in some way, shape, or form, we are all individuals. Even though we have a lot of similarities to each other, when it comes down to it, we're all just human. But there are many small things that make us us. But the issue is maintaining that no matter what other people say. And the reason is it's either one or two things. It's the sheep who want you to be one of them, or it's another unique person that doesn't like that you're unique as well. So they're gonna make you feel like you need to be something that you are not. And it works no matter what level of life you go to, whether it be from school or in the workplace. It always happens.
And the reason why it works is that fear again. It's because people are scared of being different because they know what comes with being different. You feel like an outcast. You feel like everybody's against you, and you lose your confidence because you know that whatever I'm gonna do, people are automatically gonna be against me because I don't do the same thing as they do. It wasn't the same type of whatever, and that's what gets that, and it all ties back to that how fear is like the number one thing that just makes everybody do what they do all the time.
Yeah. And again, back to your communist thing. I've been said this country was because we're in America, and I think, and this is what I mean. That this is how it works. And I tried to explain this in our international affairs class, but they're so blinded by politics they don't understand what I'm saying. I'm going to say it like this: this country is disguised as communist, and this is why. They go ahead. In reality, the government makes the decisions for you. They still can control the media, and what they do is they give the people the illusion of control, the illusion of freedom. They give you the illusion to like, okay, we're going to make them think that they are able to affect elections. They're going to give you that freedom when in reality it doesn't matter because they could literally flip all the votes on the backside and vote for who they want in control.
That's why there was so many riots after the 2016 elections, because everybody was wondering, like, why did Donald Trump win if Hillary Clinton had so many more votes? And there was this little thing, and the way they make it seem like it was all correct was that electoral college rule. So like
that's been broken for years, though. You and I both know that.
One person can get undervoted so horribly, but they'll still win because of that electoral college. And that's the way the government, in really both political parties, depending on the year, managed to like get their way without too much effort, with it still being in the Constitution. Like, and that's just scary to me how like people can use like the Constitution, which is like what Americans, or at least the government, is supposed to base all of their thing around, and they can manipulate it in a way or word it in a way that makes it so they look better or makes it so they look right. And we had that whole discussion about like the Second Amendment and how the Republicans word it in a way that makes it say, oh, everybody can own a gun.
Yeah.
And the Democrats word it in a way that says, oh, everybody should, be able to defend themselves, not necessarily with a gun or, and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, like the NRA test they gave us, it was like, yeah, like the NRA test, it was like, do you believe you should be able to defend your house against intruders? Like, that's obviously going to be a yes. Or like, do you believe that we should not have freedom? It's like yes or no. And I'm like, if I put no, I sound like an effed up person. If I say yes, I'm buying into your bullshit.
Because that's what they do. The way they like do surveys for that, and the way they do like the 2020 census is coming.
Yeah.
People do that, and like each side, what they do is they place the questions in a very specific order. Because after one question, you may be answering a certain way to one question, you may be more likely to answer the way they want you to for the next question. like what the example you just gave. Should you be allowed, defend your family against, radical terrorism? Like, and then they'll be like, do you want, freedom for whatever, all Americans? Like, of course you do. But then if you say, well, let's say you said no to the first question, you'll be like, oh, well, of course I want freedom for all Americans. But then you'll look back on the first question like, wait, but if I don't let everybody own what they want to do, that's not freedom. Like, and then they'll change their answer. And then that'll think, and then that's kind of how the political parties will get their way, is they'll basically mind game you. It's just mind control, basically.
Yeah, and the thing is like that's what I mean. It's so easy to fall asleep and buy into the bullshit, but it tires you because I've been taught to think for myself and question everything no matter what, and it goes for anything, politics, religion, and all of it, and I kind of stay away from the politics because it's all white noise to me. It's all just crap. Like the fact that I took international affairs, it's an awesome class, and I would if I could take it again, I'd do it in a heartbeat. But at the same time, there's no right or wrong answer. There's no solution to a There's no solution to a trivia question, basically.
Yeah, but when you say there's no right or wrong answer, it'll always be like that because whatever one person says is right, there'll always and this probably goes back to way long time ago, in the earliest modern civilizations. There will always be someone who thinks that you are wrong or thinks that a group is wrong. There can be a thing, and this goes back to, Hitler. Even though it was very obvious to, everybody that what was going on was terrible, there was, the Nazis, it's like white noise. It's literally, they were so blinded by, oh, yes, this all sounds good individually, but then when you put it all together, it was okay, yeah, it still sounds good. And that's what blinded people. He kind of did it in little steps. He would say, all right, yes, we're going to do this. And,
and he also bought into their mind and their ego. They were like, oh, okay, you guys are insecure. Your nation's crumbled. I'm going to build you guys up. And I'm going to build everything for you to be so blinded by my successes for you. You're going to believe anything I say. And sure enough, he rebuilt he brought back up morale, built up their infrastructure, built up an army, and said, we are going to take back the land that we were stolen. And they believed it, and they didn't realize the methods of what he was doing.
And that's another thing. The way he would manage to start this whole Holocaust thing is they were in after World War I because they lost and they were forced in the Treaty of Versailles. They'd have to pay a ton of money. They couldn't build up their military. And so Hitler comes along and he says, well, you're all angry. Well, do you know why you're angry? And he goes, well, yeah, we're in debt. And do you know why you're in debt? Well, the banks don't have any money. And who runs the banks? There you go, Jews. And then people were automatically associated hey, that makes kind of sense. That kind of makes sense. But then people really didn't need that much persuasion because they were just looking for an answer at that point. They were desperate. I mean, they were really poor. They had no money. There was no money to go around. And then this one guy comes along and says something that, kind of makes sense. And everybody bought into it because they were just looking for anything at that point. And then that's why he was able to do what he did. Yeah. And then by the time everybody realized, oh, why? Well, we've killed a ton of people now, but, maybe it was the right thing to do. And then the whole world's just kind of yelling at you no, this is terrible. But they're so caught up in well, it's not your problem.
Yeah, and it just comes back to they were looking for some place to place the blame and be well, it wasn't us, but we were punished wrongfully in our eyes, so they wanted to point at somebody, and they chose somebody, and they punished them accordingly. So I mean, they could have said anything, to be honest. I feel in that way and they just happened to pick the Jewish people, but but it could have been anybody. They could have said the overpopulation of dogs, and they would have been executing dogs left, right, and center.
Yeah.
They could have said anything. It's attack dogs. Say a name, they're gonna go for it.
And that's why I'm nervous now that the government is going to come out and say something stupid because. You think about it, it's almost the same situation. People in America right now are desperate. They want an answer. They want to know that everything's fine. So all it takes is one stupid thing, and it doesn't even have to be the president or even like the president's administration. It can be like someone running for. It can be Joe Biden for all we know, or Bernie Sanders, someone from the Democratic Party. All it takes is one person who has influence to say something stupid, or like they won't be trying to say something stupid. Like it'll be stupid like after they say it. You know those times when like you're in a conversation and you say something like, "Oh crap, that was not the best thing to say." It's kind of like that, but then look, the damage is already done. Like,
but at the same time, that's the big thing about like racial slurs and all that stuff. That's the big thing. They think like all that stuff is hate speech, and it's not. Hate speech is like when you're inciting imminent violence, and the big thing about that is that they'll take it something offensive, thinking that means it's hate speech, and it's not. It's just something stupid that someone took to the extreme. Hate speech would be me saying, okay, go shoot up a school or go smash out the windows of a liquor store. But and that because that's inciting and telling you to go do something. But the problem is that people take things to the extreme. So when someone says like we need to build a wall to keep illegal Mexicans out, for some reason some people are gonna be like, okay, all Mexicans are illegal. We're gonna go and whoop them and try to get them out.
They'll associate and he said we need to build a wall. The drug flow in America is it's hurting the economy and everything, and then everybody automatically associated that with oh yes, we need to build a wall between us and Mexico equals Mexicans are bad.
Yeah, so, even the coronavirus, because they called it the China virus. So they make all those racial slurs about now people are being like, okay, the Chinese, everybody Asian, everybody over there from that Asian continent, Chinese, Japanese, Cantonese, Vietnamese, whatever you are bad. You are infected and you are diseased, and I don't want to be anywhere around you.
Mm-hmm. That's the problem. And that's happened before with. I'm trying to think of another example. It was back in.
We talked about it. It was like the whole thing where the camps full of the Japanese, I think the Japanese internment camps.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that one, and they did that, and now it's coming back, and they're like I said, those who don't learn history repeat it, and we've been repeating the same shit on cycle since the country's inception, and we have learned nothing, but we want to preach peace and all that stuff, but I don't know. It's like we're not gonna get anywhere. We always end up back where we started, or 2 steps behind.
I've always noticed, especially in times of disaster, that how close America could be to be a very, very communist nation, and or something like the USSR, but on steroids. Because when communist nations, the way they just brainwash the people to believe everything they heard. And that happened in the Nazi era, that happened in the Stalin era, and it's happening now in, North Korea, and, China. And Americans, they already want to believe everything they're told, because Americans are idiots. But if the government could blindly walk us into communism so easily, if it really wanted to, because Americans already want to believe everything they're told.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what Donald Trump said. Oh, yes, we need to build a wall between us and Mexico. Well, obviously, since Donald Trump said that the drugs are coming from Mexico is bad. So, and that's just, Americans will believe anything that they would like to believe and anything that they think they'll agree with. Which is what happens. This is the problem with the Democrats, too, is they'll say their thing, and then people who want to agree with them will agree with them, and then the people who want to agree with Republicans will agree with Republicans, and people will never be open to another opinion because that's just not how they think. That's not how Americans think.
Yeah, definitely. And again, that comes back to human nature. But I believe since the beginning that America was communist. They just lied to people, and people. When I say that, they think that's crazy. And I'm like, if you really think about it, they still control the media. They'll say the coronavirus. If they wanted to, which they're gonna probably start doing soon to keep people inside. If they still keep going outside and still keep spreading around, they're gonna start making it look like it's coming back, and they're gonna make every single case on TV, and they're gonna mix a few white lies in there, a few half truths. They're gonna mix it all together to create panic and be like, if you step outside, you might as well be a dead person walking, and the clock is already ticking for you to die. That's going to end up like that if this doesn't curve down. Hopefully it does, and it doesn't get to that. But I'm saying I can see where it can be headed, and this is how it's always been since the beginning of the country and the beginning of the world, really, the beginning of humanity. It's always been about the control, when in reality, control is an illusion. We can't control anything because stuff is going to happen one way or another. Us having a part in it, quote unquote, is like just either prolonging or hurrying up the process.
And that goes back to something I heard a couple weeks ago. I heard a question, and I think my dad asked this to me, or he'd seen something on the internet. Like, someone asked, how do you think this is all going to end? And everybody was thinking, like, well, it could be, it'll die down. People will be, a little less cautious. They'll go outside a little more. It'll kind of ease back into the way it was. And then, like, all this, and of course, it's not all the way gone yet. When people start to let their guard down a little bit, and then it'll come back because, it only takes one person to go outside. It only takes one to go to a public place, and, they walk by people, they, interact with people. It only takes one person. And so, I think, it'll become a huge big thing again, and then, it'll die down, and then it'll go back up. And that's one of the things that I think the reason all these sporting leagues were canceled is not because of the threat of, it's partially because of the threat, like, you can have everybody in one place, and, it's a hazard, but I don't even think they tried to do it, but, like, what I said earlier, like, it was such a change for people in saying that, like, okay, yeah, the sports are gone. If they brought sports back early, people will be like, oh, yeah, sports are back. Everything's back to normal. Everything's fine. And then they'd resume their normal life.
Yeah.
And that's why they need to be very sure if they want to bring sports back, not just for, like, physical hazards, but also for, like, mental sanctuary. Because people, if what they always had comes back, they'll be like, oh, yeah, it's fine again, And then this will just get even worse. So they got to be sure that they're going to bring sports back. It's in a good time.
Yeah, and because even stuff that's still going on, like WWE, I watched that. It's still going on, but literally there's no crowds, and they put it to where it's like all the shows are now at their training center, and so much has changed with that. Like, now there's no one in there, and it's all quiet when they're wrestling, and they still have to do the show. WrestleMania is gonna be 2 nights instead of 1. And it's just changed a lot, and I guess it's really opening their eyes, and they finally understand, hey, we ain't in control of shit. We along for the ride, and we just have a front row seat to the shit show.
I'm surprised how long WWE's been able to last, because a lot of their whole thing, which made people watch it on TV and which made people buy tickets, was the crowd. Like, WWE is nothing without the crowd, because if people are just...
And they know that. That was just what's kind of fucked.
It's literally a TV drama reality show when there's no crowd, because the crowd just disguises it to make it look like it's a sporting event. But if there's no crowd, it's literally, and I mean, it's all scripted. I mean, it's hard to choreograph a fight, but it's pretty well scripted.
What I've learned about that, like, side note before you continue, like, I've learned that they choreograph the end. But as far as the process, they pretty much just do basic moves, and they play into what the crowd is doing. That's what I feel. That's what I've learned. And the whole thing with, like, their management, like Vince McMahon, he needs to go, because he should be, that company, WWE should be a trillion, should be billion trillion dollar company. But he's too stubborn, and it's just an old man's final decision. He's too stubborn to make good decisions, and because of that, he's lost talent and basically throwing away millions of dollars that could have made or break the company to the next level.
Yeah, like, I've never been into WWE. Firstly because it's acting, and I mean, yeah, it may be entertaining to watch, like, once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
But, like, you always have that in the back of your mind, like none of this is real. It's literally just it's a play. It's essentially a play. And the problem with that is like you always watch like all of these people who are in WWE, they're all like crazy superhuman. They got like their bodybuilders like The Rock and Undertaker and whatever. You know that nobody who would box would be that way. Like nobody who actually does like competitive fighting is ever going to be that ripped because not one of those wrestlers from WWE would put up any sort of a fight against someone who professionally boxes or like UFC fighter. Like
some of them actually have.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a very select few. It's like Brock Lesnar, who he literally fights how he fights with a mix with a little bit of wrestling, but he fights how he fought in UFC. And let's see who else. Dave Bautista, CM Punk, even though he didn't do well at all. Let's see, Bobby Lashley, and you can look up Bobby Lashley. He's jacked. He used to do like MMA fighting, but yeah, I get what you mean for that most part. That's why I watch for like big main shows or like pay-per-views. Yeah, but that's a bit wild. Well, Aaron, it's about that time to wrap up. Thank you for stopping by for the Smorgasbord Podcast. So everybody else out there, stay safe and wash your hands. Love y'all. Bye.